In this video, I will discuss the FIDIC suite of contracts. FIDIC has 6 different books: green, red, pink, yellow, silver and gold. I have summarized the important points for each book so you will know the difference between these books. At the end of this video, I hope you learn which FIDIC contract should you use for your project. Before proceeding, the common question we have about contract is which FIDIC contract should I use? To have distinction, we should first answer these 2 questions. Who does the design? Who bears the risk? Is the project designed by employer? Or, by contractor? All these questions will be answered along the way of this video. The Green Book, or, the short form of contract. Green Book is FIDIC's recommended form of contract for use on engineering and building works of relatively small capital value or where the construction duration is short. FIDIC has provided guidance that this would probably apply to contracts with a value of less than $500,000 or a construction time of less than 6 months. The Green Book may also be suitable for simple or repetitive work. For example, dredging works. Although typically in these types of arrangements the contractor will construct the works according to the employer's design, it does not matter whether the design is provided by the employer or by the contractor. Lastly, there is no engineer or contract management is not assigned to a third person or party. The contract nominates a member of the employer's personnel as the authorized person to fulfill the traditional duties of the engineer. Let's review. Green Book is for relatively small contract value, short duration, or short construction time, and it is for simple or repetitive work. Next is the Red Book. In 1956 the first edition of the original form of Red Book was published. This was updated and amended over 4 editions. Then in 1999, FIDIC released a totally new set of standard forms of contract, including a brand new version of the Red Book, which superseded the original version. The Red Book is the FIDIC recommended form of contract for building or engineering works where the employer or his representative is responsible for nearly all of the design. In fact, FIDIC claim that the Red Book is the most widely used international construction contract where most of the works have been designed by the employer. Next key feature of the Red Book is that payment is made according to bills of quantities, a document in which materials, plant, and labor and their costs are itemized. Although payment can also be made on the basis of agreed lump sums for items of work. Finally, under Red Book, contract is administered by the engineer rather than the contractor or the employer. The engineer will also be responsible for certifying payments and monitoring of the construction work but still keeping the employer fully informed so that he may make variations. Okay. Let's summarize. If we are using Red Book, this means that the employer will do most of the design and engineer will administer the contract, monitor construction, and certify payments according to BOQ. Next FIDIC book is the pink one. This is almost similar to Red Book. Let's see the variation. This edition of the Red Book simplifies the use of the FIDIC contract for the MDBs, their borrowers, and others involved. The MDB harmonized conditions of contract for construction mainly incorporates particular conditions to the Red Book that was used by the World Bank in its standard bidding documents before it and the other MDBs adopted the harmonized edition. The parties should use the pink book when the project is MDB financed and the 1999 Red Book would have been applicable, that is, if it is a contract for building and engineering works designed by the employer. Okay. Let's review the pink book. Employer will do most of the design. Engineer will administer the contract, monitor construction, and certify payments according to BOQ. MDBs are providing finance for the project. MDB used the Pink Book since 2005. Yellow Book. This book is recommended for the provision of electrical and/or mechanical plant, and for the design and execution of building or engineering works if most, or all, of the works are to be designed by the contractor. The contract is administered by the engineer, who shall determine any claim for extension of time and additional payment, certify payments, and issue taking over and performance certificates. The contractor is not responsible for any error, fault, or other defect found in the employer's requirements to the extent that an experienced contractor exercising due care would not have discovered the error, fault, or defect before submitting its tender. This contract is in a lump sum price. Yellow Book summary: contractor is going to do majority of the design. Engineer will administer the contract, monitor construction, and certify payments according to BOQ. Contractor is responsible for execution of building or engineering works. Lump sum price. Next is Silver Book. Under Silver Book, EPC contractor is made responsible for all the activities from design, procurement, construction, to commissioning and handover of the project to the end user or owner. An EPC contractor's obligations typically include a turnkey responsibility to deliver a complete facility for a guaranteed price, by a guaranteed date, which must perform to a specified level. EPC contracts are most common form of contract used in major international infrastructure projects. In a turnkey arrangement, it is the contractor who has responsibility for and control over each of the elements of completion risk. What are the completion risks? Risk that the works may not be completed within the agreed lump sum price, or within the agreed time scale program, or to the required performance quality. Silver Book summary: higher contract price. Single point: if responsibility for design, engineering, procurement, construction, commissioning and testing. Silver Books departs from the usual balance of risk allocation in FIDIC contracts. Lastly, the Gold Book. Gold Book is the contract for design, build and operate projects. The DBO contract adopts a greenfield DBO scenario with a 20-year operation period and a single contract awarded to a single contracting entity to optimize the coordination of innovation, quality, and performance, rather than award separate contracts for design, build, and for operation. It mentions greenfield. There is this two investment, greenfield and brownfield. A greenfield investment is the investment in a manufacturing, office, or other physical commerce-related structure or group of structures in an area where no previous facilities exist. Examples of greenfield projects are new factories, power plants, airports which are built from scratch on a greenfield land. A brownfield investment is an investment where a site previously used for business purposes, such as a steel mill or an oil refinery, is expanded or upgraded to achieve superior return. Examples of brownfield projects are those facilities which are modified or upgraded. Often the pre-existing site, which may be like facilities, are contaminated or polluted. Next, the contractor has no responsibility for either financing the project or for its ultimate commercial success. The DBO contract is not suitable for contracts which are not based on the traditional DBO sequence, or where the operation period differs significantly from the 20 years adopted. to avoid white elephant projects where a project is handed over to the employer following completion of construction and employer does not have the necessary local skill, expertise, and manpower to operate and maintain facility long-term. So, what is white elephant project? White elephant project is any investment that nobody wants because it will most likely end up being unprofitable. An unprofitable investment, property, or business that is so expensive to operate and maintain is extremely difficult to actually make a profit. An item whose cost of upkeep is not in line with how useful or valuable the item is. The next slide shows the DBO framework. This illustrates the timeline of the whole contract period. From design and build period to operation period. It is usually 20 years. For the summary of Gold Book. Gold Book is applicable for projects that are to be operated and maintained by the contractor long-term. Has two phases, the design-build phase and the operation service phase. Then, the contractor has no responsibility for either financing the project or for its ultimate commercial success. Okay. That's it? Now, let's go back to the question. Which FIDIC contract should I use? Straightforward, quick or cheap project, use Green Book. Employer design, use Red Book. Employer design but MDB providing finance, use Pink Book. Contractor design of electrical or mechanical plant, use Yellow Book. Fixed price or lump sum, use Silver Book. Design, build and operate project, use Gold Book. What is the must-read construction contracts books? You don't need to read all the books, as the interpretation of the clauses would be more or less the same but the context varies. So, ideally, just make sure to read the clauses of any FIDIC book thoroughly, as these books are used extensively worldwide for construction contracts, especially the Red Book. Then, you can understand other construction contract with ease. For my next video, I will have presentation for FIDIC conditions of contract. So, hit the subscribe button and notification sign so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching.